Sleep deprived intro. Sleep deprived intro. So guys, I had literally no sleep last night. And I mean no sleep last night. So I was sitting here, you know, philosophizing about big brain YouTuber stuff, right? And I had no ideas for an intro. So, you know, as I always do when I have no ideas, I defaulted to my objects of stabbing. But as I was sitting there philosophizing, I thought, where do you put a captured samurai? Katana Mobe! Someone stop me. Somebody please. Someone help me. Where does this go? I don't know, guys. I swear to God, I don't know. And today's special, a maximum serving of extra cringe. So guys, would you like some cringe with that cringe? I think we can all agree you owe me at least 10 cringe for that one. What up, guys? Future Michael here. Now, as you'll see in this video, due to my completely non-existing circadian rhythm, I absolutely slept for the entire 1st of April. Which means that there are two great video ideas, both missed opportunities. The original video idea, unfortunately, couldn't work because of a mod like I was going to do last year, but the exact same thing happened last year. It's this great mod called Vermintide Reloaded, where you can change a bunch of weapons, and like I could totally have sold that, right? And then I had a second idea from, and shout out, a good friend of mine called 𝒮𝔞𝔤𝔤𝔢𝔯𝔮𝔮𝔢𝔯𝒮𝒮𝔮𝔬𝒛𝔬🔮 a tactical map guide on the on the prologue, right? Which was a great idea as well. But I literally slept 20 hours yesterday, as you will see through the duration of this video. Like, don't worry, I went through it all and it's all good. But anyways, the point was that I thought I just mentioned that tonight, which is the 2nd of April, around 21, you know, 8 to 9 o'clock CET, Central European Time, I thought we'd do an amazing stream where everyone goes and grabs the More Players mod and the MMO Names mod, both linked in the description, and we're gonna do another Fortunes of War PvP event, but this time where everyone is on the Outcast Engineer, okay? So I want every single one of you that has the Outcast Engineer DLC to go grab those two mods, and then I'll see you guys tonight for an absolutely insane Outcast Engineer PvP event, okay? Back to past me. So guys, in my sleep deprivation, simply because of the Outcast Engineer being a class that I have to do a little bit more research on because of the amount I've played him, and also because another half of a mastery guide just lying there that wasn't finished. And so obviously, like with the Grail Knight, I'd like to use that material since, you know, otherwise it's work wasted, right? But that means there was still a bit too much. So I thought instead I'd do a nice and easy hero for me to do a guide on today, which is the Mercenary. The Outcast Engineer should be coming tomorrow or the day after that. Soon. Anyways, let's start out by talking a little bit about his passive abilities. It's pretty straightforward. He has this thing called Hitting the Sweet Spot, which just says attacks cleave through more enemies. Essentially what it does is it reduces the enemy mass, the total enemy hit mass by 25%, if I recall correctly. Then you have this 5% extra critical hit chance, no more Latin now. And you of course have your ultimate ability. Marcus grants 25 temporary HP and staggers nearby enemies. And then there's Pace Strike, which is amazing, where if you cleave through 3 or more enemies, then you gain 10% increased attack speed for 6 seconds. Now, in terms of talents, you're pretty much universally going to get either Drill Master or Mercenary's Pride. Duh. Depending on your melee weapon, right? If you're using Executioner Sword, I'd run Mercenary's Pride. If I was using the Spear, I'd go for the Drill Master. It depends on whether we're talking a minion killing or enemy cleaving weapon, right? Same as always. Level 10, you're universally going to be getting the more the merrier. Now, if you read on Limb Splitter, it says increase cleave power by 50%. But that doesn't mean, like the way to interpret that is, let's say that you have, just for the sake of argument, let's just say that we have a total of 100 cleave in this attack, right? So increasing that by 50% means now we have 150 cleave, which is an increase of 33%. So in other words, it essentially says cleave through 33% more enemies across sort of statistically, right? Because that obviously depends on the minion and the math behind. But statistically, that should be equivalent to 33% extra cleave. That sounds great. Here's the thing. The more the merrier, 25% power. Raw power buffs not only stack with themselves multiplicatively, but even on its own, if you have all 5 stacks, that's also 25% cleave, on top of 25% damage and 25% stagger. And you don't have to do anything for it. It's just free power whenever there are minions. When are you fighting stuff? When there's minions. So essentially, you're guaranteed 1 charge regardless, because if you're heavy attacking, like if you're attacking a minion with your melee weapon, then you're close enough in proximity to the minion that you're always going to have at least 1 charge, and almost always 2. For level 15 talent, there are different builds for all 3 talents, so all 3 can be viable with the right weapons. With the Executioner Sword, I would run the Smiter. That's the build I'm on right now. I'll show you guys some more builds after. As for level 20, usually the go-to is Reichland Reaper. That's what most of you are probably going to be picking in quick play. A case can be made for Strike Together as the best overall talent. I think it is, in a team context, the best overall talent. But let's be real, 9 out of 10 times, I wouldn't pick it myself. Again, unless we were doing something highly specific and very difficult, then I definitely would. If I was running FOV or some shit, Fortunes of War, Kata, then I would get it. But in general quick play, I'd pretty much always get either Reichland Reaper, or in specific circumstances with specific weapons, Enhanced Training is actually also an interesting talent. I think in general, Reichland Reaper is the better talent. Also, because here you have a higher proc requirement. But damn, you can get a lot of attack speed. Level 25, another interesting talent choice, because again, all 3 here are actually entirely viable. Depending on the build you're doing, some will be slightly better than others. I personally prefer the dodge range with the Executioner Sword, because I feel like 0% dodge range, often if you feel like, with the Executioner Sword, you're often forced to either stand and fight, and keep fighting, because you have so little mobility that it's very risky to start sort of avoiding the danger, right? Because then you have to be able to avoid it. And I feel like the 20% dodge range just helps me with that. But I could definitely see people using the Blade Barrier as well for the damage reduction. And if you want to be really aggressive, you're going to get Black Market Supplies. But we'll get back to this talent, because there's a specific build I like to do. I don't think it's the right talent for the Executioner Sword build. Although it is theoretically the highest value talent in terms of like aggressiveness, just killing elites and stuff. But again, that doesn't help if you're dead, right? So moving on to the level 30 talent. Now, before they changed damage reduction and before they changed the metrics for his talent, I would have always gone Walk It Off. But it used to be a 40% damage reduction, and it used to not stack with itself multiplicatively. Now damage reduction stacks with itself multiplicatively. What that means is just that if you have 40% and 40%, before you would have 80% damage reduction, whereas now if you have 40% and 40%, then the first 40% is calculated, and then the other 40% is calculated from the remaining 60%, which means then it's 40% plus 40% of 60%. I hope you guys could follow that. If you could, too bad, I'm too tired today. So, but now I would say a better case can actually be made. Like, I still think Walk It Off is the better talent, because what I used to argue is that this talent plays for success, whereas this is aiming for success, this is aiming for failure, in some sense. Like, I know that's putting it sort of exaggerating things, but in a sense, it made sense that if you had the choice between preventing him from falling in the first place, or having, reviving him with your ulti, then preventing would be the better choice. And there was also the case to be made that when you had this talent, quite often you would feel more inclined to not use your ulti just throughout the game, right? Because you feel like, oh, but I need to have it for that moment when someone drops. And then what if when you're in a game where everyone is playing fine and no one drops, and then you get very little value, and so on and so forth, right? So for that reason, I used to always take Walk It Off. But I actually think for the context of quick play currently, if you're sort of someone who just got into Legend or been playing it for a while, you're not a super experienced player. You're a good player, but you're not like deep into the no life territory yet. Then I actually think you're gonna have better success with on your feet mates, because again, keeping your teammates alive is keeping, you know, is winning games. That's winning games, right? Let's be real. And quite often on the Mercenary, especially if you got the Executioner Sword, it's slightly easier with the speed, for example, but especially with the Executioner Sword, you just don't have the stamina and the block ability, power or mobility to pull off those risky revives, right? And of course, it's better to prevent it in the first place, but I could definitely see a good case for on your feet mates. And ready for action, you're almost never going to grab that. That's at least off meta, let's put it that way. As for a couple of builds here, and item properties. Crit chance, block cost, swift slaying, pretty standard. Crit chance, Skaven, Scrounger. All my builds, 100% of them, I've used Repeater Handgun, because in my opinion, Repeater Handgun is by far his best ranged weapon. Like, and I mean by far. You can, if you feel more comfortable with the handgun, I'd say that's the second best, and definitely a viable option for that one-shot potential. If you get the handgun, I believe the appropriate breakpoints are is it infantry Skaven? I believe it's infantry Skaven. Anyways, I think on Kata you get infantry Skaven if I recall correctly, but I can't remember why. Oh no, that's the repeater handgun. For the repeater handgun on Kata, you can get infantry Skaven or you can get crit chance Skaven. I prefer crit chance Skaven, but that depends on which breakpoints you want to hit. Yeah, sorry, today's guide is a little bit loose, guys. You'll have to deal with that. As for the necklace, it's important to notice here that if you run Boon of Shalia, that also affects your own ulti, which means you'll get 30% more temporary HP from using your ulti. And the value of bark skin goes down if you also run Walk It Off and Blade Barrier, because again, the more stacks of damage reduction you have on top of one another, the less valuable they become. So for that reason, he's a really good candidate for Boon of Shalia. I still like Bark Skin. I feel like as long as you only have 2 out of the 3 damage reductions, then it's fine. If you're gonna get like both the talents here, which I do sometimes, then I would have switched this to Boon of Shalia. Power versus Chaos and attack speed, that hits the best breakpoints. Trinket, curse resistance and stamina recovery if you're playing Legend. Otherwise, it's normally crit chance and stamina recovery, which would also be totally fine. But I prefer with the Executioner Sword, you just have that little bit of extra mobility. Which is all, you know, again, same thing with the dodge. I feel like mobility wins games in this sense. I feel like if I can stay alive, then there's always a chance, right? That's how I like to play, but there'd be nothing wrong with getting crit chance here. Let's put it that way. Next build, Vlad the Impaler. This is probably the build I'm best at, I would say, because I absolutely adore the spear. Opportunist, attack speed, block cost reduction, allows you to cancel things like monks, for example, berserkers, which just makes the like so much. It's such a versatile build. You can survive insane amounts of things. Like your mobility is extremely high, your defense is extremely high. It's still chaos. On this one, I get crit chance stamina recovery because I already have that mobility from the spear, the extra movement speed from holding down the heavy attack. Also, I just have more block, so I don't need it in the same sense that I did with the Executioner Sword. Talents here. Wait, did I load the... Oh, I only loaded the gear. There we go. That makes sense. I was like, what the hell? With this build, I like to get Mainstay or Enhanced Power. It actually varies, depending on my team role. So if you're short on range DPS, if you don't have Waystalker, you don't have a Huntsman, obviously since you're a mercenary. But if you don't have a really consistent range DPS, then I'd get Enhanced Power, Black Market Supplies, Repeater Handgun, and then really use your Repeater Handgun, because then your Repeater Handgun becomes your primary damage source, and your spear becomes your survival tool for regenerating HP and so on and so forth, right? I'd still get the power, still get the more the merrier, here I'd get Drill Master, again because the cleave is good on the spear. So that's that build. But you could also get Mainstay, just to be clear. This is a similar situation. Mason Sword, again a high mobility mobility weapon with crit chance and attack speed. But here I've done the interesting thing of going, and that's why I call this build team player, proxy, strike together, so that your passive, it actually spreads to your teammates if they're nearby when it procs, giving essentially anyone in nearby proximity 10% extra attack speed for 6 seconds, which is a huge buff for the whole team. Here we got Halbardium Leviosa. I had to include a halberd build, okay? But I think you're starting to see a pattern here, right? Like, you could switch the halberd out here for the two-handed sword, for example. And in the Mason Sword build, you could switch that out for the one-handed sword. The Mercenary can use pretty much every weapon without a shield. It's viable. The two-handed hammer, you could switch that out for the execution sword. Pretty much every weapon other than the shield weapons, I would say, are good to go. Also, the one-handed mace, no. I would say the one-handed mace would be very, very strange. But with that one exception, I would say I'd say any other weapon is good to go. And here, I've chosen to get Blade Barrier, the selfish build here, because I feel like you have to be selfish with this weapon. If you guys want we can do a little weapon guide here, just to add on top. Nothing much here, we pretty much covered that last time with the Greenlight. Heavy attacks, obviously for elites, and attack, cancel, or do the third attack if you want the crit chance, proc your Swiss-Slaying, and then go back to attack, cancel. Now the spear, do light, heavy, this is versus hordes, right? And this is versus hordes when you don't have any stamina. When you have plenty of stamina, simply spam your push block attack, and then you sort of put in, you use the stamina as a resource to do push block attacks, and then whenever you have to, you know, leave a little bit of stamina, and then you subsequently switch it out with attack, light, heavy, and it's the heavy attack there that does actual cleave. Versus armored minions or sort of infantry elites, you could do the light attack cancel, which is also really good for boss damage versus rat ogres, for example, unarmored bosses. And you also have your heavy attacks, of course. Moving on, we have Mason Sword. I believe I covered that last time as well. So again, yeah, you pretty much know what to do here. The light attacks have insane stagger, the push block attack is amazing, and the heavy attacks are for elites. Then we have the halberd. All hail the halberd! Now, that's a little bit more of a complex weapon when it comes to attack sequences. If you want to make the halberd work, there's a couple of things you absolutely need to know about how to use it, because it has some very particular combos that are absolutely crucial. And I'd say it's a high skill floor weapon, so you need to know what you're doing with this weapon, or you will get punished. Now for elites, heavy, light. If you have stamina, you start out with push block attack, into a light, into a heavy, light. So push block attack, light, push block attack, light, heavy, light. Push block attack, light, heavy, light. Push block attack, light, heavy, light. Push block attack, light. Push block attack, light, heavy, light. Push block attack, light, heavy, light. Yeah. Boom. And that's essentially, you can also repeat this combo here. Heavy light. Now, you have two combos for infantry. The best one is to simply attack cancel. Do a little sway with the camera in the meanwhile. That way you can get a nice 180-degree attack arc at the least. At the very least. Extra effective when you proc Swiss-Slaying. And the other one that you have is light, heavy. So essentially the opposite of the other combo. Instead of starting out with the heavy attack, you start out with the light attack. Woo. Now, although I've never personally been a huge fan of the blunderbuss myself, one thing I thought that was worth mentioning for those of you that absolutely love it is that the right click, as you probably know, is this sort of elbow attack, right? Where you sort of stagger some enemies, deal some damage. But here's the surprising thing, right? It's an elbow attack. So if you like look at the animation, you sort of, you do like that, right? That's the best I can show it here, because we're on the official now. But here's the thing, you wouldn't think that I could elbow 3 bots from here, right? But that's actually about the range. Like, even though it's just like an elbow bash, just check out the range. Okay, there we lost. Okay, yeah, there was about max range, but right around here. That's a pretty sick range if you think about it for an elbow attack. Anyways, I eventually decided I was simply too tired to do actual commentary recording. You could already hear in the video and like see that I was fairly, you know, sleep deprived. And so essentially what I did instead was I ended up making this really weird Valheim video about going to space with longboats. So yeah, and then I collapsed on my couch. Now it's a new day. So hopefully the commentary will be just somewhat more coherent than this mercenary guide. And yeah, I was unsure as to whether or not to use this cam or this other one, which is, you know, a little more subtle. I don't know. Let's try this one out, see what happens. Let me know what you guys think, if it's too small. I'm always surprised when it's like shit o'clock in the morning and I queue and still there's someone there like, hey! Like, aw, that's so sweet. I know, as I said, I really don't want to be famous. Like, I know I do this all the time, so apologies when I go off on a rant, but really, honestly, I don't want to be famous. There's few things I would I'd rather have not happen than being like famous. I'm totally an introvert, and I don't think it's half as enjoyable as most people think. I think it's one of those things once you get it and you have it, your life is no better than it was before. If anything, it's more annoying. I like gamer fame, right? Because then you can like go to gamer conventions and stuff like DreamHack, and then you can feel famous for like a week, right, or a couple of days depending on the event, and then you get to go home and be totally unknown again. That must be that's the perfect amount of famous. I don't think he ever noticed that I indicated there was a pot up there. Oh, I missed a bump there. I didn't even spot that in the moment. Probably too tired. I saw there was actually a fire bump on my side. Best throw ever. I even seem to recall that I missed the shot and get grabbed by a hook rat in the not too distant future. So I said I was fairly tough. You can hear I am actually responding to him, but I don't think my cam recorder was actually on. Note to self, yeah, here it is. Don't make videos when super fucking sleep deprived. I have looked the video through and like everything I said in there is I stand by, so no worries. I just thought it was kind of funny when I looked through it, like, correction. Nope. Oh, you forgot to move the camera. Dum 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 dum. Anyways, let's get back to the super interesting gameplay. Now, in terms of positioning, this is a great spot, simply because the amount of places that a potential special can attack you from are limited. If you hear a strangler here, though, you want to definitely start moving backwards, because of the amount of minions that were in front of us. They would make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to distinguish when the strangler is going to attack. And in general, like a place like here, there's really only 3 general directions that a special could come from. It could come from the front right, it could come from sort of left, yeah, pretty much left, the path that we came from. And then there's one spot in the back where it could also come from. But it's not every direction, that's important. Even if it seems like 3 directions all on their sides is every direction, it's really not. If you hear a special, it makes it way easier to narrow the scope, right? Because maybe you can't hear if it's, oh, this special is coming at 179 degrees, right? But you could probably hear whether it's front right, front left, or back, right? That's a lot easier to distinguish. And then when you know it's one of those, then you know exactly where to look. And thus, it's easier to find. Just a little general tip.
any breakpoints on the conflict stuff? I'm afraid to use it because I don't know the breakpoint.
Well, I'll tell him as I'll tell you as I told him that it's not really breakpoints in the same way it is with most weapons because of the burn dot damage that you're going for. So you're not really aiming for one shot.
Yeah, it's bad for specials.
That is true. It is bad for specials in some sense, except when you have opportunist on your melee weapon, then you can hit extremely useful stagger breakpoints instead, allowing you to cancel gunners from a distance, stuff like that. Really, the execution short, it shines at two things. Just sheer amount of cleave power, especially with all of the Mercenary Cooper's passives. And of course the single shot high armor damage DPS of the heavy attacks, which also have extra critical hit chance, 20% I believe, on both the heavy attacks and 10% on the third light attack as well. And the stagger on those light attacks are worth giving a mention.
Eyes open, don't let that Blightstormer take us by surprise.
Slide map detail here. Always watch out before you go this way. Always stop right here. Sometimes the boss will trigger here, literally here, right? So it's worth it just to wait for that boss. I'm not gonna like Waste Life, he's a nice guy. But I don't understand how you could not know that you can go that way when you're playing Cataclysm. But maybe I'm being unfair here. Just an interesting note. I know most teams go the other way, especially in lower difficulties. People always go the other way. So I guess yeah, it's actually not that surprising. I believe I'm about to hear an assassin. Yeah, I heard an assassin there. And so the reason I'm so focused on this window here is because that's one of the spots where it can crawl up, jump through the window. As it happened, it didn't go that way. I would say that was simply like I wasn't prepared for it to jump that quickly, not gonna lie. Now what's about to happen is an assassin is about to hit me. And I honestly, maybe I was just tired, but I felt in the moment, I felt like it was BS. You see that? Wait, let's just watch it again. So I'm actually unsure as to whether it was actual BS or if it was just one of those moments where you were extremely unlucky with how the crosshair, you know, in relation to the assassin actually. And I mean, just to be fair, what I should have done here, no matter what, which I preach always, is that when you try to go for a shot like this, you should always dodge as well, right? It's the same with the strength. You should always assume that you're gonna fail. But obviously... Oh! Is that a hit? I mean, it could be a miss, but my god, it's close. And the second shot right there... I mean... I don't know. Hard to say.
What the hell was that?
I know, what the hell was that? New Vapor. It's the same head, but they're
From the weirdest
new mod.
angle on my screen.
Oh, is this that one where he said don't aggro the patrol and then I aggroed the patrol? Because he asked me not to? I'm not sure, maybe that was another game, I'm not sure. No, that was another game, that was another game. I thought it was funny, okay? One of my friends, he was like, don't aggro the... Careful, don't aggro the patrol. And I was like, ha, I'm totally gonna aggro that patrol. And we were just fine, so... If people ask you not to aggro the patrol, in general, I would say then don't aggro it. Especially if you're playing with strangers. The Packmaster is done for. Free bomb? Explosives? Anyone? And the bot token. This is what you don't want to be during a horde. So if possible, you should always want to push through here. And then fight it around here, around this staircase. This is really good positioning. Because you have a roughly 100-degree arc, something like that, in front of you, where minions of all kinds, shapes and variety can come from. And your back is completely safe. At least it's less than 180 degrees where stuff can actually come from. And quite often it's going to either come from that corridor on the right, which is slightly elevated, or it's going to come across the bridge here, right? Or jump down and then come up the staircase. But you can sort of see all those angles at the same time. And what makes it even better is that shortcut you can take on the left side, allowing you to actually make space between you and minions whenever needed. So there's several reasons why it's one of the best spots in the game, in the map, to fight stuff. If not in the game, actually. For that exact reason. Instant space. Of course, it also switched Jaguar, but even if it hadn't, I would still have had plenty of time. And always, of course, I know this is obvious, but when you have something like an ammunition crate in your general area, as you're fighting a boss, just shoot away. There's really no reason not to. It's the great thing is, it's safe damage, right? Now we also have the elf. Again, there are many ways to play this hero, and again, in some instances, like, there's a big difference between playing with the executioner sword and playing with a spear or even a mason sword mace. Because depending on your weapon, it can differ whether or not your primary damage source should be your ranged weapon or your melee weapon. And it also depends on your general team setup. Because you can do a lot of damage with the repeater handgun if you know how to manage your ammunition, especially if you have the 30% extra ammo talent. It can be sort of difficult to hit with in the beginning. Like, I don't know if this makes any sense, but like I just recall when I first tried it, it didn't feel as accurate as it feels to me now. I don't know, it felt sort of inconsistent to me at first, for a long time actually. And it was only like in the past year or something like that that I actually really felt comfortable against swapping it out, taking out an elite just like that and swapping back in. At least consider, if you don't like the weapon, that maybe you just need a little bit more. You see? Boom boom. Maybe you just need a little bit more practice with it before it feels good. Feels good. That was a misclick. I actually meant to hit my push to talk there. Just want to point that out. Again, I said I was tired. Thankfully that didn't cost us the game or anything. Everything is going just fine. They left the medkit, just saying. I'd given up on trying to point stuff like that out. But let's just play. Doesn't matter. Die! And then the other one got up in the meantime. Motherfucker! That Mauler just would not die. It's like I had to reload and I think, still not dead. What the F in hell? I almost relied on my, I don't know if you saw it, it's kind of interesting. How I was so close to relying on my dodge there, and then decided, nah, I'm gonna block anyways. And it's those dodges where you're not 100% sure, did I dodge that? I feel like I did, but, you know, then he did that turn, yeah. It's a sight for songs. But can something also be a sound for sights? Who knows? This is a sound for sights. I don't know, it doesn't have quite the same. This sounds so good that it should be visual. Now again, the important thing when you're in a situation like this, so if you noticed, the elf pushed quite far ahead, and the most important thing, you don't have to go down to your friend, but you have to stay within line of sight, right? Because that's literally the difference. If an assassin were to jump, whatever, the important thing is just that you can take that one shot and get it off in a reasonable amount of time, right? So I didn't bother to go all the way back to her, but I also stayed within line of sight. But as you can see here, that was not the case with the elf. So if the elf had gotten hidden in the meanwhile by an assassin or something, there would have been nothing I could do. And at the end of the day, it's nearly always, I'd say 99% of the time, the fault lies on the person further ahead and not on the person further behind. Because one can easily, it's easier for one to adjust than the other, since the elf has a faster character. Again, I'm not blaming the elf here. I'm sure Matt Bowles meant nothing by it and is a fine player. I think most people don't even realize when they're doing it. And again, this was a one instance occurrence, pretty much. So again, no hard feelings. For some reason, my ulti did not stagger that Strangler. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of caught me off guard in that moment. Actually, let me just watch that again. Sorry for constantly. Don't worry, the clip is not this long. We win before that. It's because there's another game in there as well. Let's just see here. Okay, so Strangler is right there, and I guess it was on the up animation when I ultied, and that's why. I think that's why. It was in the process of crawling up, and thus was unstaggerable. And the reason I trained the comp up there is simply because, again, I knew I was about to get pushed here, and maybe I could have made it without it. Maybe I couldn't, right? But it was a matter of consistency, feeling safe. We're at the end of the map. This is going to be the hardest thing in the map, like fighting the boss on its own, no biggie. I felt like the only way this could go wrong, and we were losing, was if I died right there. And for that reason, I felt, you know, even if I don't feel like I'm getting the full value, that is actually all the value I need. Again, sometimes, I know some people at least have a tendency to want maximum value out of something and take it too far. Of course, you should always want to get the best value out of something, but to some extent, if you constantly are only looking for the maximum value, you're just gonna end up getting less value, right? So in an instance like this, it was totally fine to use that compound, because I'm not scared that I can't make this run without the compound, right? So that was sort of the single only instance I could see in which we were gonna lose the game. And again, I think the Mercenary, he plays very different with different melee weapons. I'm a lot more careful with the Executioner Sword than I would have been with the Spear or the mace, Sword and Mace. I don't know why I keep saying, why I keep wanting to say mace first with that particular weapon. The Sword and Mace. Like with those weapons, I would feel a lot more loose and a lot more free, because I'd feel more comfortable on my own. Like whenever I play with the Executioner Sword, I'm constantly aware of the fact that if I had no teammates around me, it would only be a matter of time before I died. That's the truth. At least from as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm playing, I would not be able to true solo a whole map with the Executioner Sword. I just wouldn't be able to do that. At least I don't think I would. It would be very hard. Maybe if I tried enough and got the right run. But what I'm trying to get at here is just that the weapon itself is not great for surviving as soon as you get overwhelmed. So your best defense, in a certain sense, lies in a good offense and killing stuff. Because as soon as you get overwhelmed, then you're on a timer, right? It's not, if you pull a patrol, it's no problem for a while. And assuming, you know, because stuff dies, it gets thinned out, you can move certain places, but at a certain point with the Executioner Sword, I would run out of juice, so to speak, right? I would be in a position where I had no stamina left, I had no ulti, I had no potions, I had no bomb, I was in a bad spot, and sooner or later, you know, I think you get what I'm saying. And for that reason, I feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more loose with certain weapons, and would thus play way more aggressively, in a sense, with those weapons. Or I get, because I just said the best defense is a good offense, but here it's still a good offense with the sort of the marked denotation that you don't want to get yourself into too much trouble because you don't know if you can actually get out of it on your own. Anyways, hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, then I'm sorry. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This slightly incoherent video. I don't know if it was incoherent. It was at the very least a little bit, you know, a little bit flawed, not gonna lie. But, you know, that's what happens sometimes. Don't hate me. The engineer video is pretty much finished, so that is gonna come out tomorrow. I only released this today and not the engineer video because of the stuff I said, having assumed that this video was gonna be done yesterday. I said in the intro, I explained that thing about how the Outcast Engineer Guide was coming after this one, and I thought otherwise I'll have to record a new intro, and so then nothing would make sense, and so I just decided, you know, I'm going to finish this video today first, gonna release that, and the Outcast Engineer is coming tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, hope you learned something new. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you didn't, then don't like, comment, and subscribe. That's on you. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, I love you guys. Stay awesome. Peace out.